Hey everyone, we're going to talk about procedures today and custom blocks in Scratch. AP Computer Science Principles uses the word procedure to refer to when you group some code together and you put a name on that group, and then later if you want to use that code you just refer to the name of the group or the procedure, and it runs that procedure for you, and then it goes back to whatever it was doing before. In Scratch, that's a custom block, so you can go to My Blocks and click Make a Block. And you can give it a name. You should always give it a name. So I'm going to name this location reporter. And I need two inputs, and you'll see why. So I'll call this X input, and I'll call that one Y input. And click OK. And so it gives me this define block. This define block will live in whatever sprite you created the block in. And then you get access to this block, which allows you to refer back to the block that you created. So this define block tells this block how to function. So if this block is ever encountered in the code, like if I put it right here, the very first thing that happens is it gets to this custom block. This custom block points straight to this block, and then it runs whatever is attached to it. When that's finished, it goes back and it goes to set score and it runs the stuff below it. So it's really just a shortcut way of organizing code. That's all it is. And it lets you have inputs, which then you have access to when you're defining blocks over here with these two input boxes. You can drag them out and use them in the code if you want to. These inputs allow you to change the data that gets used by your custom block depending on when you call it. So let's see what that looks like. Let me delete that one. Okay, my goal here is that I want Scratch, the cat, to say out loud, my X location is blah and my Y location is blah, except I want him to actually say what his X and Y location is. So I know I'm going to need a looks block. That's going to need to be in there. And I need to get X and Y location. But every time Scratch says this, he might be in a different spot. So I don't want to just type a specific number in here and hit play because it won't update. But if I use these inputs, I can get the data that the user inputs to the block when they call it. And I want it to have an input of an X position and a Y position. And if you go to motion, you can find the X and Y position of a sprite at the bottom down here. So X position, I'll plug that in here. Y position, I'll plug that in here. And I want this to happen every time someone presses an arrow key and it actually moves. So that's going to be in 4 different spots. It could be a right, a left, an up, or down. So I know I need this 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I can put those, I'll put them inside of here so that they only ever happen if the location is changed. Remember that this tests to see if you can move and then it moves. So by putting it in here, I guarantee that Scratch only ever says something whenever a successful move happens. So right now, this gets called if I press the right arrow key and this is true, and then the X position changes, and then it calls this custom block. When it gets to this, it calls the custom block and the code goes up here, or the computer goes up here and runs whatever it says right here. So I want it to say, there's some blocks that you haven't seen in the operators section, and you can build a sentence using this join block. And I'm going to use a few different join blocks. Basically, join just smushes some text together. So I want it to say, my X location is, and then I'll put a colon and a couple of spaces, and this X input needs to go right here. And then right here, I'll say my Y location is a colon and some spaces, and I'll put the Y input right here. Now, I want it to be one sentence, so I need to join these two together as well. So I put this right there, and that makes a bigger one, and I'll put this right here. So now, if I click it, it shows my X location is 0, and then there's no space here, so it kind of looks bad, and it says my Y location is 0. The reason it's 0 is because these inputs don't have any values yet. Nothing, like this block didn't actually get called. I just clicked this, and the default value is 0 here. But I see the problem with my formatting. I want there to be a space after this number and the next sentence. So if I click at the beginning here, and I put some spaces, and then see what happens. See, now there's some spaces there. Put some more spaces. Ooh. Put some more spaces. Let's try that again. Okay. So now it says a sentence, and in that sentence there's two variables that are updated according to whatever data is passed to this custom block. So if I put that whole thing in the say message, and then I click on this block, well, I can't click on one block. Let me drag it out here and see if it works that way. See, if I click it out here, it shows you, I can make this bigger. It shows you what's happening. So when you click the block, he says my X location is -51, my Y location is 104. It gets those numbers from right here. This X position and Y position get sent to the definition up here, and they get sent to X input and Y input. And then everywhere you see an X input and a Y input down in the code, I'm just moving it so you can see it. Everywhere you see X input and Y input, it uses the same number that got sent to this custom block. So if I move this back, let me make this smaller so you can see everything. If I put this back where it goes, down here, and then I click the green arrow, every time there is a successful move, he says my X location is blah, my Y location is blah, and it's kind of it's stuck because I chose to use the say for 2 seconds block. So let me change that. Instead of say for 2 seconds, let me just say. That way it's not stuck for 2 seconds doing nothing. Let me get rid of that one. Put that there. Let's try it again. Move. Yeah, okay, so now it's updating. And if I go down, so notice when I get stuck and I keep clicking the down arrow, nothing happens because if I'm stuck, then this if statement is never true, so it never changes the Y, and then it never goes to this custom block call. So if this block doesn't execute, then this stuff doesn't happen. These pink blocks are just shortcuts that point over here. So why would I do this? It's hard to give examples in Scratch for why this is a good idea, but there's a few reasons. I could just right-click here and duplicate, yeah? And right-click and duplicate. And I could put these blocks over here, and instead of using this input from the custom block, I could just use X and Y and plug them in here. Then that would look like this. X, Y. If I did that, let me put this, I don't want to put it in every one of them, but I'll delete this for the right arrow key. I'll put this here for the right arrow key, and I'll hit play and show you that it actually does the same thing, practically. If I hit the right arrow key, yeah, it still reports things. Left, up, left, down, up, right. Like, you can't tell from looking at it that anything is different in the code. So it's the same effect. But now the problem is, what if I realize I made a mistake, or I want to type a different message? I need to go change it. So I want to change it to just say X, and I want to change this one to just say undo Y. Not my X is and my what, just X and Y, right? Okay. Now remember that I changed the right arrow key. The right arrow key is not using my custom block, but the other arrow keys are using the custom block. So let me show you what happens. Maybe you can predict it. If I click the flag and I click the right arrow key, it still uses this message. My X location is blah. But if I click up or left or down, up, it uses the new message that I typed in the custom block. So if I had used 4 of these say blocks right here, and I wanted to change the message, I'd have to change it in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 8 different text locations. And if I typed it wrong once, it would be wrong for some, but not all. And so that leads to you having to go click a lot of spaces if you want to change your code. Instead, you could use this custom block, and you can drag this out here and put it back like it was. And now you only have to change it in one spot, your custom block. And when you change the message up here, it changes it in all 4 of those places for you, and you only have to do it once. So Y is, or no, X location, and I could change this message again, Y location, and then hit run, make it bigger, Y location. So the formatting looks a little messed up, but you can see that it changed. I'm hitting all the different arrow keys. So a big reason in Scratch for why you would want to use a custom block is to cut down on the number of places that you have to change things when you need to change things, or to cut down on the number of places where you have to go look if there's an error or a bug happening. Because now I just have to fix it in one spot, and all 4 of those spots immediately point to this same spot, and I don't have to go and change things 4 times or 8 times, 10, however many times you use this code. I hope that shows you some motivation for why you would do this.